Hey everyone, this is Carrie Newton with Parker Properties, and today we're going to talk about surveys. Survey says, okay? So first off, what is a survey? A survey is a drawing of the boundary lines of your property, saying where it starts, where it ends, and any easements that run across that piece of property. So, you can have a perfect square piece of property. Some people have pie-shaped piece of property. Some people have, like, our property is this weird, crazy shape. So what a survey is it tells you where those boundary lines are at, where your corners are at, and if there are any easements or anything that go across the property. And then also will tell you if there's any building lines or, anything like that. Okay, so that's like a really simple, like 30-second explanation of what a survey is. But let's talk about why a survey is important, okay? And I'm gonna tell on myself for this one. So this is really embarrassing, but I am gonna tell on myself to tell you why a survey is as important as I truly believe that it is. I would not purchase a piece of property without a survey, and I'm gonna tell you why, okay? So, when a listing goes on the market, the seller may or may not have a survey for that piece of property. If they have a survey on that piece of property, your buyer's agent can get you a copy of that so that you can take a look at it. It's really nice to have those, like when you're standing in front of the house and you're looking at it. It's nice to have that survey in front of you so you can kind of tell, like, what's what, where's where. You never want to assume that the fence line is the boundary line. Never, ever, ever make that assumption, okay? Just because the fence is there, I'm gonna tell on myself here in a second, so just understand that. So title companies transfer title based off of legal description. So when we tell someone where we live, we say, I live at 123 Main Street. And everyone goes, oh, I know right where that's at, 123 Main Street. Okay, but when title transfers the property, they're looking for the legal description that says, like, lot 1, block 6 of such and such subdivision out of such and such abstract, blah, 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 blah. This long, lengthy name, that's your legal description. Okay, so a survey also verifies the legal description of your property, making sure that what you wrote into your contract, that you say, I'm gonna buy 123 Main Street, which is on lot 1, block 6 of such and such subdivision, and this is what I'm buying. So I'm standing there, I'm looking at it. I think I know where my boundary lines are, but my contract is going to specifically say, this is what I'm expecting to purchase, right? Matches up, right? Perfectly. The survey is what does that, right? So without that survey, the title company, the only thing that they have to go off of is what you wrote on your contract. I want to buy lot 1, block 6, blah, 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 blah. And then if they have that survey, if it's agreed upon by the buyer and the seller, who's going to pay for that new survey, a new one comes in if the seller didn't have one and it wasn't a good one. So then they look at that survey and they say, yes, this area that they're wanting to purchase, it is lot 1, block 6, check, check, buyer gets what they want. Okay, perfect world. And we all know we live in a perfect world, right? Okay, so let me tell on myself. So in my first year or second year of real estate, not 100% sure, I sold half of a house. Half. Sold the front half. And you're thinking, how in the world do you do that, Carrie? How do you sell half of the house? Well, let me tell you. We didn't get a survey. That's how. So if you're buying something with a loan, there has to be a survey. If you're buying something with cash, you don't technically have to have a survey. Buyer doesn't technically have to have a survey. And in some of these older towns, in some of these older areas, instead of the house being on lot 1 or that owner owning lot 1, that owner might own lot 1, lot 2, and part of lot 3, okay? So when you're standing there looking at that fenced in area of that lot, you are looking at technically 2.5 lots. Well, if on your contract you only write lot 1, the title company doesn't have a survey to know that what should convey is lot 2 and part of 3, you can buy half a house. It can happen because I did it. So importance of surveys, I cannot stress them enough. One, you want to make sure that what you're purchasing, what you think you're purchasing is actually what you are purchasing. So that's really, really, really important. You also want to know, excuse me, you also want to know that if there's any building lines or any easements that run across that property, you want to know where those are at so that you ahead of time can understand if, you know, maybe there's a pipeline easement that runs right through the property and that was right where you were going to build your house. Like without that survey, it's hard to know that, right? Like you will want to know your building line restrictions. Most surveys will have a building line restriction, so it says like here's your boundary line, but you have to build 25 feet off of that boundary line all the way around your property. You don't want to build something that's inside of a building line, you know, or something like that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't put something portable, like a fence. I know that sounds crazy, but those are fences. You can actually fence your boundary line. You don't have to cheat your fence in to where the building line is. But you want to know. You want to know those things. So that's why a survey is really important. You never want to make the assumption that the fence line is the boundary line. You want to make sure that what you are purchasing, what you think you are purchasing, you are actually purchasing, that you're not purchasing half of a house. And you also want to make sure that nothing is set over those boundary lines or not inside those boundary lines. And I can give you a great example of that. Several years ago, I had some buyers and they were purchasing a piece of property, and until we got the survey, we did not realize that when the builder built this home, he put it 8 inches from the property line. Like you couldn't stand with one shoulder against this house and not be technically off of the property, like technically on the neighbor's property. I'm not 100% sure how that happened, but it did. And until we got the survey, until my buyers got that survey back, we had no idea that it was like that. So of course we got that survey back and quickly said, this house is not gonna work for us. So there's just a lot of things that you can confirm and that you can make sure are what you are hoping is, you know, that what you're buying, you understand fully what you're buying, where your boundary lines are at, and if you're going to have any issues putting anything on that piece of property that's really important to you, okay? So pro tip, when you are writing a contract on a house, the survey, who pays for the survey is negotiable between the buyer and the seller, okay? So if the seller has a good survey, there's an option inside of our contract that says seller has a good survey, what we think is a good survey, but if the title company does not approve of this survey, either the buyer or the seller is going to pay for the new one. So it's negotiable who pays for that. So when you write that contract, keep that in mind. But there's also a place inside of our contract where if there isn't a survey, so you're going into it like, I know sometimes it feels like you're going into it blind. Like, yes, I want to purchase this piece of property, but how do I make sure that those boundary lines are what, you know, till I get the survey, I don't know. And so I'm putting in a contract before I even have the survey. There is some protections inside of the contract that you can protect yourself as a buyer, and you can say, I'm willing to purchase this 5 acres of land, but I want to have the ability to put my house, put my shop, put my pool, these are the things that I want to be able to do on my property. Well, when you get that survey back, if there is an easement or a building line or something that was right where you were going to do, like right where you were going to put that pool, you can write that protection in for yourself to say, now this property doesn't work for me because this building line or this easement or whatever the case may be. So hopefully that helps. All right, so any more questions, give me a call and I'd be glad to help. But thanks, guys. Bye.